I used to call them. They'd be my student. I'd be like, hey, it's Brendon. They're like, oh my God. I'm like, do you have another credit card?
You want the American dream. You want the life, the liberty, the happiness. But until you get there, until you achieve your goals and make your dreams come true, you know what you have. You have the journey, the hustle, the climb. I'm Kelsey Humphreys, and this is The Pursuit, where I interview the best of the best in person on their home turf about how they got started, how they got to where they are today, and what you can learn from them about success. Prepare to be inspired, equipped, motivated, encouraged, and have a lot of fun.
Kelsey, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of The Pursuit. This one was amazing, again, because I got to sit and interview someone I've followed forever. And I will say I have followed Brendon Burchard for his marketing content. He's a marketing genius. He has so many great online strategies. And for this interview, I started to really dive into all his personal development content, and it's such a game changer. And I've started to realize, as I keep getting to sit down with these massively successful people, that really you have to have both. You have to have the inside personal development work to get the results on the outside in your business or your dreams or your goals. Obviously, there are exceptions to that rule now and then, but overall, the rule is that you have to have both. So I hope if you haven't looked into all of his personal development content yet, that you will after this interview. I also really found this one to be very special because it was watching one of his videos a long time ago, years ago, that convinced me I should go ahead and probably write my first book and start speaking and start transitioning my business into more of a media business. Like I'm doing today. So it was just really special, and he was so humble and so gracious and was so down to earth. I mean, you wouldn't expect him to be a multimillionaire who just literally, before we got on started our interview, he was on the phone with Oprah's team and Usher's team because he does work with Oprah Winfrey Network, and he does coaching for Usher, and it all happened to happen the month before and the week before our interview, and he was so like down to earth about it, didn't want to seem braggy. Meanwhile, I'm like, holy cow, I'm sitting next to someone who was recently sitting next to Oprah. Like, I mean, I've arrived. Obviously, I love this episode and I love him, and I think you will also really enjoy this interview with Brendon Burchard. If you're interested in personal development, online marketing, or expert marketing, you've heard of this episode's guest, Brendon Burchard. You've also probably watched one of his videos, since over 50 million people watched him online in just the last 12 months. Oprah.com named him one of the most successful online trainers in history, and he has written 3 New York Times best-selling books. He is one of the top 100 most followed public figures on Facebook, and more than 1 million students have completed his online videos and courses like Experts Academy and High Performance Academy. And if you don't know who he is yet, I don't understand, because he just reached over 4 million Facebook fans. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Did you expect this? Did you see it?
Nope.
Really?
No, my first town I remember being a young kid in, had 3,000 people. And then as we grew and we grew, I've just been doing this so long. And that's what people sometimes don't see. They just see that, wow, 4 million. We had 50 million video views in the last 12 months.
Wow.
That puts us as the most watched personal development in the world online. And I didn't anticipate any of that. I've been doing it every week for 8 years.
Wow.
Professionally and being paid for it, I've been doing it every week for 10 years. Mm-hmm. And so just kind of gathered and gathered and gathered and gathered. So people keep saying, you came out of nowhere. And it's mostly because I look like I'm 19 years old, right? So they're like, you look so young. You must have just started. But, I'm blessed to have the inspiration to do this 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then I quit a job 10 years ago to start putting out videos and teaching and hopefully inspiring people. And so it's all just gathered force and momentum to where we are today.
Wow. Let's go back and start back there. Let's start with the life-changing moment you had with the car accident.
Yeah, I was 19 and I was deeply in love with the first girlfriend I ever had. We were high school sweethearts. We thought we were going to get married, and we signed up for college together. I actually followed her to the college she was going to go to. And so we shared a U-Haul. We were that young, dumb love. And we were in college. Everything was going great. And then she kind of strayed, and it broke my heart. And I was depressed. And by the end of my first year in college, I was suicidal, not thinking about it, planning it. And then luckily, I had an opportunity to go down to the Dominican Republic for a summertime job. And I went down there, and I just felt better. Like I'd changed perspective. I was getting away from the depression. But one evening, my coworker and I were returning from a client's house. Late at night, we round a corner going 85 miles an hour. And there just wasn't a sign for it because it's a developing country. We round the corner 85, and that was the turning point for me. I was miserable and depressed and unhappy and suicidal, turned this corner, and I had these series of experiences that basically taught me, in the end, at the end of our life, if you're sliding into death's doorway, you have these feelings and these impulses, and if you're conscious enough later on to reflect on it, you ask questions about your life to evaluate whether or not you're happy. And I asked, did I live? At the end, you wonder, did I live my life? Was I alive and vibrant and cheerful and joyous? Was I present? You wonder, did I love? Did I love openly and honestly and completely? Or in my case, did I hold back because I got hurt one time? And you wonder, did I matter? Did I make some kind of difference? I was a 19-year-old kid, literally asking these questions to myself on the top of the hood after the car rolled several times. I pulled myself out through the windshield. I'm standing on the hood of the car, feeling and sensing and asking those questions essentially, and looking down. I'm covered in blood, not knowing if I'm going to survive. The mortality moment for a young 19-year-old kid that made me appreciate life. And I felt like at that moment, I got what I call life's golden ticket, a second chance. Because I survived, and so did my friend. And we were terrified, but that fear and that reflection later on made me realize, we should all live our lives with a lot of intention. So my message has always been, you're going to die. Not exactly motivational, but it's like, you're going to die. Right. So if that's true for everybody, then think about how would you value your life at the end? Figure out the questions you're going to ask at the end of your life. Figure out what questions you'd ask to see if you were happy with your life. Then wake up every day, live intentionally so you're happy with the answers at the end. Because I wasn't happy the first time I asked that. Did I live? I've been thinking about taking my life. Did I love? I was heartbroken. I hadn't shown my heart for a year. Did I matter? I didn't, all these things we talk about, in entrepreneurialism, everything that we talk about in the world today, making a difference, being of service, I didn't know any of that stuff. So I didn't like the answers. And I said, I'm going to turn my life around. So every night for 20 years now, I've gone to bed and I said, did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? And I'm happy to say most of the nights, it's not always yes, but the nights it is, I sleep the best. And so I just learned to live with more intention as a man. I want to be vibrant. I want to live through my heart. I want to make my difference.
And so now your story usually fast forwards to that first book, which was Life's Golden Ticket, which was based on your story. And people jump over to, when you were writing in your apartment and you're bankrupt and all that stuff. But I want to talk about in between, because when you were writing that first book, you had a job somewhere, right? You had a corporate job, and so what were you doing before you went on your own?
I left grad school, and I'd written, I didn't know it was going to become a book, but I wrote the Student Leadership Guide, which was it was in a binder for my university. They got enterprising, and we ended up publishing it. And that got me a job at Accenture, which was then the world's largest consulting and outsourcing company. By the time I left, there was like 200,000 employees.
Wow.
But I started there, and I was doing leadership development, change management type work. And I loved it. 6 years in the corporate grind. You have to learn to be organized and good and a high performer. It was great. But I did. I had a calling. I felt inside. I was like, I just want to be a writer, and I want to be a trainer. And I was doing some training there, but not the level I wanted. And so I quit. And I started writing and doing events full time. And I quickly went broke, which is that story you're talking about.
Wait, let's pause. How did you know it was time to go solo?
It wasn't about money. People often think, well, you'd have to make a certain amount. I grew up there's 4 of us kids. My parents working full time between the 2 of them. In Butte, Montana, then Conrad, then Great Falls and Missoula. We didn't have anything. It wasn't ever about money for me. My ambitions financially was like, if I could make $40,000 a year doing this, that'd be amazing. That would be like the most money I could ever possibly fathom. And so that was my mark. And I just was like, wow, that'd be amazing. Well, while I was at Accenture, I was writing and doing things on the side, and I just felt like there was a shift of my passion. I was so 100% for Accenture, and then I was like 80%, and I was 20% over here. And then this became my passion, writing and teaching on the side. And then I just, financially it kind of hit where I was maybe earning about 20% over here of what my full salary was. And I just thought, well, if I'm making 20% at, doing this on the side, barely with any hours to scrape by to do it. If I went full time, maybe I could even, not match my salary, but get halfway there. And so financially and economically, I thought of that way. But the real truth was, it was just my heart. I wanted to tell my story. I wanted people to understand life's golden ticket, second chance. You always have a second chance. It's never too late to start. You just have to decide, who do I want to be? How do I want to live my life? What mission do I want to serve? And you need to begin that. And sooner than you think. I was already pushing you.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's sooner than you think.
Yeah, he gave me a pep talk before this interview and pushed my goals from 9 years to 3 years. So I'm freaking out.
No pressure.
But then you ended up bankrupt. So how did that happen? What happened there?
I did my first seminar, and I didn't know how seminars worked. I didn't know how hotels fees worked. I didn't know production. I had lots of sponsors, but I also had a person who kind of took advantage of us and sued us. Because I didn't have the right insurance for the event.
Oh.
And I didn't know, like, when you're on stage, people are always looking for that chink in the armor. And I was so new.
Right.
And so I lost everything, moved in with my then girlfriend, and it was tough. It was very, very tough. I mean, the story that you're referencing was the night that I really got committed to really, like, I was motivated. There's a difference between just being motivated and truly committed. I was struggling each day to stay on task. I'd be so motivated in the morning, but then, 2 o'clock in the afternoon would hit and I'd be on the couch watching something or wandering around town. And I wasn't focused. And then one night, I'm writing on this little fold-out table, and our apartment was so small that I was using the bed as really the desk. So all my bills and my bankruptcy papers and my journals and vision boards, research was all over the bed. And my lady came in, and it was late at night. She crawled under the covers to go to bed. And I'm just writing. I'm trying to get my head in it. And I look over, and I see my woman sleeping under the weight of my bills.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
And it just, like, snapped something inside, because, we can all be motivated, but sometimes we need to find something to fight for to really be committed. Yeah. And some people don't like that metaphor, so I say, if you don't have something to fight for, then find something to love for. But you need something outside of yourself, a mission, a purpose, a person, a cause, a dream that gets you off your butt and gets you really in the game. A lot of people want to write books. A lot of people want to do speaking. A lot of people want to do blogs. A lot of people do the coaching or the advising that I do, especially at the level I do now. But the reality is they haven't found their reason for it yet.
And that obviously worked, because, correct me if I'm wrong, it was 18 months later you had a $4 million business?
Yeah, we did, exactly. I went from zero, bankrupt. 18 months later, we did an online launch, and it did $4.6 million in that year. And that launch capped it with another $1 million. So it was immediate. It was just figuring out what it was? It was figuring out online marketing. And that's what everyone gives the credit to. That's kind of the origin of Experts Academy. But the reality behind it was high performance. Was like, I got my stuff together. I got focused. I became a SWAT team. I got a mentor. I was learning.
Okay.
Go. And it was just, you can get a lot done if you wake up each day with real fire and with no other alternative. Right?
Right.
The challenge is right now everyone has competing interests. I could tra-la-la-la over here, I could go over there, I'll look at a bird. It's just like they're all over the place.
Yeah.
Because there's so much opportunities today. Back then I didn't even see an opportunity. It was just like, I gotta do this, I gotta make it work. And sometimes entrepreneurs, successful people, they need to put their blinders back on.
Yeah.
They're losing their day to distraction. They're losing the day to faulty obligations. They've got the busy work, but they haven't found that life's work. And so I found that life's work, and I don't even remember a period of my life, that's not true, but I was gonna say, I don't remember a period of my life going that hard, but I really have. I've really pushed and focused on my own habits and routines and disciplines to get to that level. where I can sustain that mental stamina, that physical stamina to deal with all that stress. That's high performance work.
Right.
You know, it's just dealing with you.
Yeah.
And so luckily I broke through. The online marketing was definitely a huge, huge part of it. If I hadn't figured that out, you know, how to put together a sales page, what to say in a sales video, how to get, you know, people's emails and how to send out emails. I mean, all of that, you know, you think about 10 years ago, it was kind of in its infancy compared to where it is now. Now all the tools are simple and easy. Back then you had to code them and build them and, you know.
Which you did yourself, right?
Yeah. And our number one refund was never about the course because we were doing online courses in 2008.
Wow.
Right now they're a huge industry,
Right.
you know, $100 billion plus e-learning. Back then, brand new. Our number one refund was people who they were upset because the videos buffered.
Oh, wow.
Remember when you press
Yes,
you'd have to
yep.
press play and it
You
just
wait,
wouldn't,
yep.
right? And that's still around the world a lot, but for us now we can watch hour-long videos on our phones. But back then, you know, a 5-minute video to upload that thing took an hour,
Yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah. So you mentioned your habits and to be a high performer today, but let's go back there. In those 18 months, what was a typical day like for you?
Same as it is now. Like first and foremost, I decided to own my morning.
Okay.
Like there's a reason we're shooting this right now because I've already done my morning routines.
Okay.
So I
Which are?
stick to them very closely. I wake up, I drink 20 ounces of water, I give my thanks, I go and I stretch for usually about 20 minutes. So it's usually like a vinyasa flow or just a calisthenic stretch. Not my workout, just my stretch. Then I do 20 minutes of just planning and thinking about the day. So I strategize the day. Then I do 20 minutes of reading or writing just to engage my mind creatively. And then I go. But that's always, I got to have that hour. It's not always an hour. And you know, people also go, well, geez, you must have it nice. You have an hour. Because you know what people do is they say, well, sure, he can.
Right.
Sure, she can. And that's one of the traits of unsuccessful people. They see somebody do something and say, well, wouldn't work for me, without ever attempting it with true discipline. And, you know, unsuccessful people, they'll see a great idea or they'll be inspired, but they say, well, I don't have the things that are necessary to do that. Successful people say, well, I don't have it either, so it's on my job to go build it. And unsuccessful people say, well, I don't know how, so they quit. Successful people, I don't know how, so it's on my job to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so just that successful thing is like, you know, if people hear a morning routine, everyone should have a morning routine. It doesn't have to be an hour, but if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 20, so you start the day out right. And that's absolutely necessary for me.
And then are you working in blocks of time?
Yeah.
Batching? And
Always block time. So the day for me is always scheduled based on that morning planning session, that 20 minutes. I do that without, and by the way, I do all that before looking at email, which is important. The number one thing that people don't realize is they're losing their day by starting it in reaction. 86% of smartphone owners, the first thing they do when they don't even get out of bed, they grab their phone on the nightstand, they go, you know, and
exactly,
what is it,
that's me. Yep, we all have a problem.
Yeah, we can get you this is now science. We can get you 30% more productive throughout the course of your week if you don't check your email in the first hour of the day.
Wow.
And I mean, philosophically that makes sense, right? Because if you jump right into your email, you automatically set the frame in your mind to react to other people's needs. And you're just reacting to the world. You're not strategically thinking, what are my moves forward? And so when I begin the day, I'm moving myself forward before I'm replying to anything. And that's the secret. So you have to block when you're going to do email. When's that going to happen? When you're going to be in reactive mode versus proactive mode. And so I block that out, and there's just times. It's different every day based on what was on my sheet in the morning, what I want to do. My sheet's called the one-page productivity sheet. I'll give you a link to it, or people can Google it. There's a whole hour training how to use it in my morning routine. But being in a strategic, proactive mindset in the morning, it just gets me more done.
Yeah. So those first launches, and I love talking about the personal development side because I feel like most people who watch this have probably only seen the marketing genius that you are, like all of Experts Academy, and haven't really jumped in yet to your personal development stuff, which is just amazing. And obviously a key component to your success. Like they go together, which I hope people pick up on. But your first launch, so successful. And we had a fan write in, Shay, and she wanted to know if you were starting over again, what would you do differently, and what would you do today if you were starting now? So I guess a lesson from your first launch, and then, if you were starting today, what would you do differently?
I definitely would have been more disciplined during the day, for sure. I would make sure that I understand today the game is content. And so your day has got to be oriented towards content creation, because that's what's going to get you the followership, the likes, the traffic to your website to sell your stuff. So there's no company that isn't in the content creation game. They tell themselves they're not so they can protect their past and do what they keep doing. But the new currency is content. And so what I tell people is you've got to release at least one significant chunk of content every week. Once you create that article, that video, that webinar, that webcast, that piece of interest, whatever it can be, that podcast, everything else, you can break it up. Take quotes out of it and share that all over line. Share it in different formats all over online. But I tell people, you've got to do something every week that's significantly moving your business forward, whatever it is. Because most people, they spend weeks on weeks and weeks and weeks, react. And they're like, why is my business not growing? Because you're not doing anything. Replying is not building. They're very different things. Replying is maintaining. And if all of your week is maintaining and not building or creating, you're never going to advance. So it's just that mindset, I think, would have helped. I tell everyone the only game on the online space today is get someone's name and email. So put something together that gets their name and email. I do video series. Enter your name and email. I'll give you 3 free training videos. So they enter their name and email. I deliver the 3 free training videos over the course of 5 to 10 days. And then I roll out an offer video that says, if you like those 3 free things, my course or my book or my webinar series or my coaching, whatever it is, will help you go even deeper, even more successful, even faster. So if you like that, this is awesome, buy it.
Now, what about authors or maybe a talk show host who they don't want to do courses?
Yeah.
I feel like not everyone is built to do that yet. It takes some time, I think, to do it well. But I also, I just don't feel like I'm called to do courses. And I know that there are a lot of authors who are like, I just want to write, or speakers who are like, I just want to speak. What would you say to them?
Follow that. What they'll discover is, at some point, something worth fighting for beyond their own passion. Like, I was the same. All I wanted to do was write books. And then what came beyond myself was students. If you're a thought leader today and you give a damn about students, you'll meet them where they want to be. I didn't want to do video. I was scared of this. I was like, But I was like, that's what they wanted. Sometimes a business isn't just about what's perfect for you passionately. It's also about what does the customer want.
Right.
Customers today, what they want is continuing education. That's what they want. So I always tell people, don't always just live your life based on doing what you want to do. Definitely do that. But sometimes ask, what's required of me to serve at the next level?
Yeah.
Because if you're a real teacher, then you'll know, they don't want just the book. They're like, can you give me some more tools? Can you explain that better? Now, you can explain it on audio. You can do a live webcast. You could do more interviews based on it. You could do monthly membership based on it. You could do downloads based on it. The modality doesn't matter. But to realize that sometimes for the customer, they want to access you in a different way.
Yeah.
And online courses, people make them way too hard in their mind, by the way.
Really?
It's 5 videos. It's 5-week course, 5 videos. You can do 5 videos.
Yeah.
Even if they're just interviewing people. You interview people and you go a little more advanced, a little more deep. And so that's a skill you already like. You already enjoy this. Just spend more time in the interview teaching. At the end of the video, look at the camera and say, so here's your 5 things that you got from this interview. Write them down. You'll see a worksheet down below. Fill out that worksheet. That will help you get ahead. And any questions you have, comment down below, and I'll be in there kind of guiding and coaching you and supporting you, mentoring you. That's a course.
Yep.
So don't overcomplicate it either.
All right. Speaking of modalities, we had a viewer, Abby, wrote in, and she wanted to know if you had a favorite, speaking versus training versus writing.
Writing.
Writing's your favorite?
I'm a writer.
Actually, let's talk about writing, because you have 4 New York Times bestsellers. Is that right?
Yeah. We're coming up on our 4th. I think we have 3 New York Times bestseller and another #1 bestseller, but it wasn't all
Okay.
the times.
And so what is your writing process like then versus now? What's your advice to writers?
Block time. Don't be like, I'm going to write my book next year. No, you're not. It's just like people say, I'm going to start investing next year. If you won't invest $1 in the marketplace, don't fool yourself and think you're going to invest $100,000. Right? If you're not doing it now, and you want to, it's only fear, apathy, procrastination. And you need to get over that. So writing is, I know so many people, I'm going to write a book one day. When? Because no one does anything in the modern era without a deadline.
Yep.
So if you don't have it on, if you don't block the time specifically each week, if you're not doing it each week, you're just not going to do it. So A, do it each week minimum. B, have a deadline that you're working towards, and don't let off of either. Set those boundaries and make them law. Those boundaries are the law. You don't break them. So that's important for writers. And also don't sit and wait for inspiration. The inspiration happens in the act of creation, not before. So you have to get in, just like sometimes working out. You don't feel like working out.
Right.
But you hit the treadmill and in 2-3 minutes in, you're like, okay, I'm in the workout. Same thing with writing. You need to sit down, start typing, even if it's stupid, even if it doesn't work, just write. And my process is I block significant chunks of time. Like I take off weeks to do this. And people are like, how? Oh, you're so lucky. I'm like, no. I built my life and career to have the freedom to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not lucky. I worked my ass off for a decade, so I can do it.
Yep.
If I want to take 3 weeks to go to France, I can do it. If I want to take 2 weeks to write the first chapters, I can do it. If I want to take 4 months off, I can do it. Because that's what the online world has given all of us as entrepreneurs, is freedom. It's just like I said, unsuccessful people say, well, sure, he's got the time, he can do it. What I did is I looked at other people who had the time. I said, how'd they get the time? They built the systems. They built the team. They did the work to have the time. They're not lucky. They structured everything to allow that time.
Right.
I think authors need to do that.
And you mentioned, creating the processes and the team, but I also have heard you say you did a lot all on your own for years. So what was that timeline, and how did you first find help?
Yeah, I've done all my marketing in my business until this year. So that means 10 years. The last 10 years, if you got an email from me, you saw a post from me, you saw a video from me, I did all of that in terms of getting it out to the world. I had support though. So I always had a team that I hired very early on of customer service. So I would I was the creator and the promoter. And my team would help organize, respond, take care of customers. That began with one person part-time as a virtual assistant. Then that person came on full-time. Then that grew into somebody helping part-time with the accounting, just to how do you do that? What happens when someone's credit card declined? I used to call them. They'd be my student. I'd be like, hey, it's Brendon. They're like, oh my God. I'm like, do you have another credit card? This one declined. And they're like, oh my God. And they totally freak out. But I literally did all of that. I did every website in the last decade. I built every single one. Then last year and this year, I said, you know what? Systems have evolved so much. I can teach that and get out of my own way so I can do more of the things that I love artistically. But I loved it. I didn't ever hire a marketing person until I probably had $50-60 million by the time I hired anybody who did any marketing. And people said, how? I go, because that would sound so impossible 20 years ago. But what that was from was videos. And so I had a videographer. He'd shoot it and edit it for me, and he would upload it. I would write the email. I would build the page where it was. I'd code it. I learned HTML, and really bad HTML. I could do, my limit ever was 2 columns and 4 rows. I had that, someone gave me that template, and I learned how to code that. I could do nothing else. So my website was that for a decade. It was a hand-built, crappy website. I tell people all the time, you don't even need a website. What you need today, an opt-in page, a page where you put content on. Now you can use blogs, WordPress, Tumblr, Squarespace makes that click point, you're done. And you need a sales mechanism where they can click a button and buy something.
Yeah.
What people didn't realize, even as of last year, Experts Academy, which is an 8-figure business, all it is, there's no building outside. There's no building that says Experts Academy on it anywhere in the world. anywhere in the world. There's no business card. There's no brochure. Experts Academy, which brings thousands of people from all around the world to attend it as a seminar, and tens of thousands online in the course. Here's what it is. It's an opt-in page, a page for the videos that we train, a page to sell the course, and a membership site where they access the courses they bought. That's a $10 million business. What is that, 4 web pages?
Wow.
And a membership site. We use Kajabi now, which I'm an investor in, and I love because they built basically what I dreamed of. And anyone can sell anything, products, services. There's just nothing you can't sell on it that's easy. That used to cost me literally thousands and thousands of dollars a month or hours and hours and hours every single week. Our last promotion we did, I basically had all these people promote for me. You know, every people talk about it, and if they made a sale, they get a cut. So it was affiliate marketing. But I set up the website and the membership site for it, probably about 30 minutes, an hour.
Wow.
That's how easy. So everything's changed. So when you hear these big numbers in the marketplace, people in their mind mistakenly go back and they go, "Oh, websites cost $20,000." I'm like, websites are free.
Right,
WordPress.
yeah.
They're like, "Oh, it costs so much money to accept money online." I'm like, Squarespace, PayPal,
Yeah.
Kajabi. What are you talking about?
Right.
So people just need to be in the game recently because it's so much easier.
Yeah, I just have a few more questions as we wrap up. A lot of people creating, bloggers, authors, you talk a lot about how you read a book a week and you're still, consuming personal development content and psychology content. How did you keep your own voice intact? Because I'm sure you've come across people who take your content and repurpose it and put it out on their own. Like a lot of people at your level talk about how that's just kind of the fact of your business.
Yeah.
But I also think there are people who do a lot of personal development, read a lot, and then worry like, am I losing my own voice in this?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it's because they make the mistake of feeling that they have to be the researcher all the time and not stepping into the role model mindset of saying, so for example, if you're going to teach a topic like confidence, what most people do is they'll go, okay, oh my God, I'm going to teach confidence. I'm insufficient to teach confidence. Wait a second. So, and then they'll go and say, well, what are all the books I have? And they'll go back and do all the research to figure out what they have to say on confidence. And I'll go, no, don't do that. It's already running around. Sit down and go, okay, if you had to explain confidence to your 12-year-old son who's struggling in school, what 5 tips would you give him? Go. And they're like, oh, well, I tell him this. Don't worry about what other people think. And, say positive things to yourself. And, take action because you'll get more confidence as you do things. And be yourself. I'm like, great, that's a video. Good job. That could be a whole course. Good job. You already know it. What we do is we constantly doubt ourselves and we think we need other things to prop ourselves up. So that's what people do in the expert space. They start reading everybody else and they think they have to combine everything. I'm like, no, stop. What would you say? If you were in a role model position, kid is struggling, you need to help. What would you say? Your mind and your heart already knows that. And what people need to realize in content, there's no wrong answer. It's not like what they're going to put it out and someone say, that's insufficient. Everyone always does that. Your comments are always going to be like, well, that's not always true. Well, nothing is always true.
Right.
At all. The only thing that's always true is God. Outside of that, there is nothing always true.
Yep.
So chill. Share your perspective. What people pay for is your perspective.
Well, other than, which I think would be discipline if I were guessing as a key to your success, what do you think are some of the keys that have gotten to where you are today?
Well, I think it's not one specific things. In high performance, we talk about the importance of mastering 5 different boxes of your life. So the first one's your psychology. So I do a lot of work on that. I read psychology books all day long, neuroscience books all day long, everything in personal development. I mean, literally, like you said, I've read a book a week for 20 years. I've never missed. And there's been a lot of weeks I read a lot more than that. So I read a lot. I would say reading is the reason my mind is pretty square is because, square, is that a compliment to myself? Or, I don't know. But the reason I'm pretty clear about life is because my psychology is good. My psychology is good because I have perspective. My perspective is good because I read and interact with a lot of people. The second area is physiology. So I do a lot of work to maintain my mental clarity and my energy. From what I eat to how do I move to what I work out on. It's important to me not to cloud my mind. The third one is productivity. So I'm very attentive. Like, is this a distraction? I'm very attentive. Is this going to pull me in a way that's not going to add any value to the people who I want to serve? And I think productivity isn't just about daily management. It's about I own my life. You know, I think it's really important. There's a chapter in my book, The Motivation Manifesto, that just reclaim your agenda. Take back your life, realize you control the agenda, and you'll be better.
Yeah.
And then the last two pieces, persuasion. So I studied my whole life, like how do you influence people? How do you, like what is leadership? How do you deal with conflict? How do you deal with the social intelligence stuff? So I studied a lot of that. And the last piece beneath it is just being connected to your purpose. Like, why do I feel like I'm here? And not always like in a big, like, I'm here because, oh my God, like some big, huge spiritual thing. I mean, in the moment. Like, what are we doing here right now? You know, like at lunch, why are you with that person? Bringing purpose into the everyday simple things, that brings presence, mindfulness, awareness, whatever you want to call it, just vibrancy. And so those things combined, I know it sounds like a lot, but that's the bulk of my work in High Performance Academy. Just let me teach you, master each of those areas. Because if you get 1% better in each of those areas, your life doesn't get 5% better. Your life gets 20% better. Increase each area by 10%, your life doesn't get 50% better. You have a breakthrough that you never even knew was possible.
Wow.
So I think it's looking at people's holistic life. I think that's why we have such a big audience. Is I'm not the guy who's just like, set goals, la 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 la. I'm like, I'm looking at your whole life.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes you suck with people, and sometimes you take crappy care of yourself. You need more tools than just one. I'm not a one-hit wonder, and I think that's what's my YouTube show has shown, my podcast has shown. It's like, we're going to talk about all these areas of your life, from your personal life to your business life to your physical life. And with that mentality, people feel like they're growing with me. And that's my challenge to people. Whatever their products or services, are your customers growing with you?
That's good.
Did they just get a solution, and they're out? Well, that means you're a commodity. If they're growing with you, then you're a true brand. You're a true mentor, a true connector in their life, someone who's always adding value.
Yeah, man, I could take like one of your sentences and we could talk about it for 40 minutes. So it's so hard for me to wrap up, but we need to. So I want to end on what's your number one piece of advice for someone at the very beginning of their entrepreneurial success development journey?
At the very beginning, I would say never let your small business make you small-minded. Too many people's vision is caged in their current circumstances or their current competencies, what they're capable of.
Yeah.
And I always say you have to raise your ambition beyond where you're capable of now. You know, there's nothing about my hometown that said I'd be working with an Oprah or an Usher or Fortune 50 CEOs, Olympians, like the highest level. You know, nothing from my hometown said, this kid's going to have tens of millions of people following him.
Yeah.
This kid's going to, you know, sign books for presidents of the United States. There's nothing about where I came from that said I would be here. And so what I tell people all the time is your ambitions, don't limit them based on yesterday. Your ambitions, don't limit them based on your current skills. Where do you want to go? And what would be required of you to grow into that? Put yourself together a plan. Develop the skills to get there. Like what would be required of me to serve a lot of people? Like I'd have to learn how to write. I'd have to learn how to do video. Ugh. I'd have to learn how to do social media. Ugh. You know, I'd have to have a team. Oh my God, that's scary. Like all those things, I didn't know how to do those things, but it didn't stop me. So if you honor your dream, if you honor that real ambition, if it's your real purpose, you must step back and be personally responsible and say, what would be required of me to be able to serve that dream, to be able to deserve that dream? And it always includes developing more skill sets. Starting. It's like, you know, I couldn't say it any better. Zig Ziglar, you know, he said, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to become great.
Here are my 5 keys to success from my interview with Brendon Burchard. Number 1, get intentional. When he was just 19, he had a near-death experience in a car accident, which made him come face to face with 3 big questions. Did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? And those 3 questions started shaping his entire life and his personal platform. Now he wants all of us to really get intentional. Number 2, get consistent. I know this isn't a fun one, but it is a common trait of massively successful people. And Brendon Burchard says that we are overthinking it a lot of times, and instead of thinking that you have to be consistent in all areas every single day, although that helps, think about being consistent week to week. Number 3, get focused. He said if he could go back and do one of his $1 million launches all over again, he would get even more focused during the day. He says that a lot of us tend to be reactionary the entire day, starting by checking our email, which he says is an inbox full of other people's agendas. I love that. And he says we're distracted by the amount of opportunity available to us in today's fast-paced, online, do-everything world. Number 4, get inspired. And by that, I mean dream bigger, think bigger. He says a lot of us limit our vision for our lives based on our current skills and our current circumstances. But guess what? We can learn new skills and we can change our circumstances. And lastly, get committed. I think it's interesting that he said that motivation isn't really the problem. A lot of us think I need to get motivated or I need more motivation. And he says really commitment is the problem. And if you want to see major results, commit to something bigger than just yourself and just your goals and dreams.
We are back and we are going to do fast facts. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, so just try and answer as fast as you can. What is the current wallpaper on your phone?
It is the Winged Victory from the Louvre.
What is the last thing you Googled?
Last thing I Googled. Wow, that's such a great question. Last thing I Googled. Honestly, it was like how to get somewhere. It was like a map thing.
Map. Scrabble or charades?
Charades.
Most recent book you're reading?
The Emotional Life of Your Brain.
Favorite book?
Alchemist, Paulo Coelho.
Favorite fiction?
Alchemist, Paulo Coelho.
Oh, that's fiction? But
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's a parable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Chocolate or vanilla?
Both.
Both. One word you're guilty of saying too often?
Dude.
Who is the last person that you called?
Usher.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Like Usher?
Yeah.
I'm sitting here with a guy whose most recent phone call was Usher. I feel like I've made it. Okay, most recent person that called you?
Harriet, Chief Marketing Officer of Oprah. It just happened to be this morning. This last month was with them. I'm not bragging. This was literally, it was this morning.
What's Oprah like?
She's the most extraordinary, present, gracious, caring, thoughtful, grateful person I've ever met. Yeah. We have a course together. It's called Your Next Bold Move. It's not together. It's on her network, Oprah Winfrey Network. So the call this morning, I'm not like making this. Our call was what's the next course we're going to do. So we did that course. It was a blockbuster called Your Next Bold Move, and now this morning's call was just like, what are we doing next?
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Last awkward situation you were in?
Every situation in my life is kind of awkward. I don't know.
That's a
Last
funny
awkward
answer.
situation. Yesterday, missing a flight.
Oh, yeah. Last vacation you took?
Feels like every day. I get to do what I love.
Marie said the same thing. Marie Forleo said that.
I love Marie.
Hobby?
Hobby. Reading, journaling.
What is one bad habit you have?
Every time I go out to dinner, not every time. Every time I go out to a nice place for dinner, I always have dessert.
Oh, I feel like that's not that bad, but I'll give it to you.
No, every time.
Every time?
Yeah, just saying.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Early bird or night owl?
Both.
Winter or summer?
Summer.
Wine or beer?
I know, both. Dang. Those are the worst nights. You wake up like, what happened?
Pancake or waffles?
Waffle.
Guilty pleasure TV show?
Guilty pleasure TV show.
Do
I
you
don't
watch
a lot.
TV?
I do, but with my wife, so they're all her shows.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't.
Do you like watch TV in the evenings? I feel like you probably don't.
We do.
You
Yeah, to like wind down once in a while.
Really?
Yeah, it's whatever she wants to watch. I just want to be with her. So.
That's what is it? Happy wife, happy life. That's funny. Favorite snack?
Snack. pistachios sound too lame? I
I
don't know.
don't know. Michael Hyatt said almonds.
Yeah.
I feel like healthy people just like their nuts, man.
You know what I'm weird about? I eat spinach out of the carton. Like I walk around, like some people would eat French fries. I eat like spinach. I walk around my house like munching on spinach like a cow or something. I don't know what's wrong with it. I don't think cows eat spinach, but that's what I do.
This is amazing. Favorite cereal?
I don't eat cereal, but back in the day when I was a kid, Lucky Charms.
Favorite music right now?
Macklemore and Ryan Lewis.
Thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us today. So great. I wish we had hours and hours to talk, but if you haven't checked out both Experts Academy and High Performance Academy, you've got to do it because he has so much great content and his books. I'm Kelsey Humphreys. This is the Brendon Burchard, and you've been watching The Pursuit.
Bye, y'all.